What's going on, guys? Matt Schaeffer back here with another build for you. This one is not going to include any audio. It's going to be a custom center console build for a 2001 Excursion. These trucks kind of are a dime a dozen nowadays. A lot of people hold on to them as kind of a collectible. A lot of people want to bring them up to date. This client saw a YouTube video I did probably 4 or 5 years ago on this particular car where we built a center console. Obviously, it learned a few tricks since then, so the last one I did was a little bit more simplistic, if you will. I thought for years about how I could always make that one better, but again, this one here, he just wanted to go above and beyond, really make it like a current model center console that you would see in like a Yukon Denali or something along those lines, where they have a lot of tech, HDMI ports, USB ports, wireless charging, integration for all that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what we did, and let me show it to you right now. All right, guys, just to give you a rundown of the console here, completely custom, completely one-off, built for this particular client. So for people watching this video, just a disclaimer now, this is not a mass-produced console, right? This was made one-off just for this client, for exactly his needs, exactly his wants. It's not going to be reproduced exactly as you see it here. So if you ask me, there is no opportunity to recreate exactly this console, right? So as far as pricing and all that goes, it's going to be up to each in particular client, okay? And exactly what it is that they want. So we have the light switch here, and this is hooked up to the ambient floor lighting, front and back, right? So we can turn that on and off. It is an RGB light strip, so you can choose what color that you want it to illuminate and the intensity. We have front cam here, so if you press and hold this, it's basically going to show our front cam there. Hit it again to turn it off. And then we have aux 1 and aux 2, and those are for future accessories that one might add, like an air horn or something along those lines. So we can expand with this console. Obviously have our CB radio here in the center. This is really to, we chose this exact one because you can pick the illumination color for the radio itself. So obviously the theme here is green, much like the factory dash lights. We have an Excursion logo here, right? So this is like a piece that I kind of tied into it to try and make it feel factory. It uses the same backlit green lights here to illuminate the Excursion logo. And then you can't see it now, but that lighting extends down onto our phone dock, our iPad dock, whatever you want to call this. There's room for multiple phones here, room for an iPad. The circle you see here in the center is a wireless charger. So you can see from my phone, let's put the phone over that spot there, and then the wireless charging starts to work. And it also is pretty cool, it illuminates this white band around the charger when the phone is charging. A nice cool little element. Under here we have our cup holders, and if you have a Ford Excursion, you know that the cup holders in that crappy little tiny center console are not adequate enough. Stuff falls over, you can't put any big drinks in there. So I sourced this from a newer F250. So it's really cool. The inserts still come out like factory, right? So you can clean everything. And then again, you have your green ambient lighting that glows around this cup holder here. So all the lights in this console turn on and off with the parking lights, just as you're wondering. Much like the factory lights on the dash, everything turns on with the parking lights, right? And each individual component has a certain resistor, different resistors, because these are all using different types of LEDs to make them glow at the same intensity and also not be too bright for nighttime viewing, right? You don't need any distractions. Most of the time, if you're using RGB or LEDs, you'd have to use a controller to control intensity. But in this case, there's so many different components that use different types of LEDs that we had to use separate resistors to make everything match appropriately. So we have our cup holder here. Another cool thing is with this cup holder, this slides forward, right? And you can the acrylic becomes exposed. So the reason I did this and made this an insert, one was really to help wrap this console in one piece of material, but also to gain access to the physical cup holder. And you can see the cup holder is right behind this acrylic here. So there's two bolts, two Torx bolts that bring up this panel here. And you can see the LED lighting going around the edge there to light up the inside. But this can be removed so you can clean out if you have like some kind of nasty spill in here and it goes under the acrylic. You can, you know, pull these bolts out and then clean this acrylic in case you do have a spill. Another cool feature is this panel here. So there's kind of some hideaway storage here, right? There's your wireless charger, and basically that plugs into this area back in here. And hopefully you can see it. If not, I can take some better pictures and overlay them over what we're looking at now. We have up to 7 USBs that can plug into here for charging to then come out into this area. Also, there is our HDMI back here and our USB for the Alpine Halo 9 radio, which is the radio that you see up here. And underneath that false floor, we have another false floor, right? So this is kind of where the engineering comes into play for what we build, right? Because you want to gain access to the different pieces of equipment in the car, the wiring. So as you can see down here, you have our inverter down here, which you'll see soon in the back. Another cool thing that we always do is we install things like factory, right? So all of this stuff you see here in this console runs through this plug. This female side is connected to the car, right? It's all our wiring going to the console. It's connected to the car, and this is connected to our console. So when you install the console, it's a plug and play solution just like it would be from factory. It's not all hardwired into place. Completely removable, completely serviceable. I can test everything in the console, all the lighting, all the switches from that one particular plug there, which is really, really cool. So putting it all back together here, I can even do it with one hand. This sets flush into that. I left a little lip down here, that way the phone can literally sit on this ledge so it can be right where the wireless charger is, right? So once that is on, we then have the cup holder trim, which literally slides into place. And as you can see, the gapping and on all this is really perfect, gives that factory type of seam line. Again, we have the Alpine Halo 9. This is more of a modular type of radio. You were just looking at the auxiliary, which is coming from our overhead DVD monitor in the back, right? So you put a DVD in that, you can hit aux up here, and then see the video and audio of the movie that you're playing in the back. It's a modular style, right? It docks into the car, kind of gives that modern modular look that you see in a lot of Mercedes, BMW type of new radio screens that you're seeing in the market. We have brake controller. He originally had this down here where the console was, so we had to relocate that to this area here. So we made a cool little mount there. It says brake controller in case you have developed an early set of Alzheimer's and forget what that actually is. Another cool thing we did is we hooked up some turn signal cameras, right? So if I put on the left turn signal, it's going to show me the left side of the car. Put on the right side, it's going to show me the right side of the car. I already showed you the front cam. Obviously it has a rear cam as well. So again, this client basically wanted the tech from a new truck, right? This is a 01 Excursion. They don't make them anymore. It's kind of an iconic truck. So he wanted to basically dump the money into this to make it feel like a current truck. So obviously you always need a place to conceal your valuables. In this case, for this center console, underneath, so this is the area under the console lid. Looks like a regular floor bottom. Push this up, pull this out, to reveal your most hidden valuables. Big League Chew. Oh, I hate when people steal my Big League Chew. So if this were my car, this would be my Big League Chew container right down here. There's a few inches there, so you can put something kind of deep. But again, this is our panel here. You see those vertical lines rastered into the suede that match what you see here and at the bottom of the cup holder. So we kind of kept that theme, the Ford theme, which you see all over the place, intact. So I will leave this client a special surprise, Big League Chew. So when I demo this to him, he will reveal that he's got a special surprise down there at the bottom. So looking in the back, this would be the rear of the center console. Couple cool things that you can see here is we have our inverter switch there. So this is going to turn on and off our inverter, right? We have our plugs for the inverter down here, our two 110 plugs, there and there. Then we have two USBs. We have our HDMI, which is the input for this overhead DVD here, right? So we can take our iPhone cable, or if you have an Android, you just get the MHL to HDMI. But in this case, I can plug this right into there, and then we can mirror the phone onto the display up here, and then this outputs video to the front screen. So we can, in theory, hook up an iPad, an iPhone, and we can stream Netflix, we can stream YouTube, all through this monitor here using this flush mount HDMI here, and then it will then beam the audio and the video up to the front radio. We installed heated seats, much like we did in the front as well. So we have our heated seat buttons here. So we basically have three different elements. We have one here, here, and here. These are folding seats. So these fold up, but we do have an element in each part of the seat. Obviously, this is going to be your left seat. That's going to be your right seat over there. We also have a trusty cigarette lighter adapter there, right? So if you have some old school plug that you just want to plug in, you still have that luxury of having that there in the console. Obviously, you can see the acrylic lit up green in the back here. We continued our horizontal line here, which you see in the cup holders, what you see in the iPad tray that I built, which you see in the bottom of the storage of the center console. So we continued this theme throughout the truck. Obviously, you see those lines everywhere in the truck. Three different layers of acrylic here. This is our base layer. Actually, four different layers of acrylic. You have the lit up layer, you have this layer here, this trim here, and then you have this layer here in the back to kind of give it that depth, dimension, and kind of give it that factory feel. So this is an overhead console we built. I'll overlay some pictures right now of what this actually used to look like. This really came as a fix, started as a fix for stuff that you're seeing here. Somebody just literally glued up felt to the top of the roof and hooked up this massive overhead that was just kind of super flimsy, and it just didn't look good. They literally had this HVAC switch here kind of hanging out in the open, not trimmed in. So, you know, what I did is I kind of recreated that, molded the headliner all the way down, and also flush trimmed this in. So this is actually absorbing a lot of the depth of this, so it doesn't look so bulky. We have our USB, another USB, and another HDMI input into this. So another thing I like to do is I like to use a Roku stick in the HDMI port. So we have two different ways to use that, but again, you just plug that Roku stick into the HDMI, and then now you have Roku on a HDMI source, to which if you have a Wi-Fi hotspot within the car, you could then stream your Netflix account, YouTube. If you have DirecTV, you can open up all your different types of apps for the different channels, which is pretty cool. So another cool element is how we did all the fusing for everything in the console, right? So as we know, a lot of this stuff takes its own power source. So if anything ever happens, here's a factory fuse box, here is our fuse box. So the turn signal cams, all sorts of stuff run through these fuses here. So if anything ever stops working, always check this, which we basically mounted to our own custom bracket that bolts to the frame here, and like I said, hides behind the factory panel. So again, just kind of engineering everything so it's like an OEM option. Here is also a view of the turn signal cameras. So they sit really flush underneath the mirror here. So when you look at it here, it extends out pretty far wide. It gives you a great view, as you saw in the video, of the side of the car, and then way out. So it has a wide range of view, and again, only comes down about 3/4 of an inch or so, right? And it just sits flush there underneath the mirror. Looks very factory. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up this console. I can overlay some build pictures now just so you can kind of see it during the wrapping process and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, like I kind of stated earlier in this video, this is a one-off console, right? So again, this is not a mass-produced console. If you live in Australia and you're watching this, don't ask how much to ship this console to Australia. I got that a lot on my last Ford Excursion console build that I built like 5 years ago. I will attach that to the end of this video so you can kind of see that being made. But yeah, this is not a mass-produced console. This is a one-off build for this particular client, right? He wanted things like a CB radio, lights, a station for his iPad, storage, lit cup holder, all of this, the inverter, things like that in the back. Obviously, all of these different accessories are going to change what the price is, right? So anytime that I talk to a client about doing something like this, we're gonna figure out what it is, what are your wants and needs first, right? And then we're gonna balance what your needs are with the level of aesthetics that you want, right? Because I can certainly do all this without the lighting and save you a lot of money. We can make it more simplistic. It doesn't have to be, you know, multiple different types of materials to give that OEM appearance. The more materials, the more intricate detail, the more it's gonna look factory, which is all gonna change price. So we gotta find that happy medium balance with each person's budget. So with that being said, if you have a Excursion, if you have a different car, you know, it doesn't have to be an Excursion, but this is an example of a center console that we built in this car. So if you have something that you want to do in the future, hit me up, email me. Here is my email address. Here is my phone number. You can reach me directly here if you have any questions about what we did, how we did it, or want to inquire about something that you have. Also, my social media pages are here. Here's our 3 Instagram pages. We have @TheRealMattyS, that's my personal page. We have Musaic Design, which is the umbrella of kind of what I do when I do work like this. And then we have Sound Effects Home Car, which is actually the facility that I work at, Sound Effects in Lewes, Delaware. So again, thank you guys very much for watching, and love to hear your feedback.